Hi everyone, and today I am finally doing what you've wanted me to do for years. Debunking the Pixar Theory. Oh, is that controversial? So the premise of the Pixar Theory is that all of the Pixar movies are connected in one single universe. And through all the Easter eggs and cameos across the films, they're all like telling one big story about how the human race got killed off by machines and eventually returned and turned into monsters. And it made a lot more sense, I would say, 10 years ago. I don't want to mention any names, but Onward.
Cars fit in better than...
Cars fits in significantly better than Onward. However, I would say with the Pixar Theory, the fact that the movies are connected is just kind of the premise of it, rather than like the theory goes out of its way to prove that the movies are connected. I don't even think it's that much of a theory anymore. It's more just like a game, you know? How can we fit this movie in the Pixar universe? And today, I'm finally asking the question of, does it really work? Was it all a lie this entire time?
2013 is longer ago than I want to remember.
When I said 10 years ago, it felt kind of like... And I want to make a disclaimer, if you are very familiar with the Pixar Theory, kind of take that knowledge and throw it away, because I'm not going to be addressing anything in the Pixar Theory as kind of like the timeline, completely ignoring that. We're just trying to work out what movies definitely exist in the same universe because of the cameos and Easter eggs from other movies in those movies. Did that make sense?
It didn't make sense, but I wasn't listening.
I'm going to say if a character, a specific character that we've met in another movie, appears in a movie within the Pixar universe, that connects two movies together. I think that's fair. That's like a literal cameo from one movie in another movie.
Only thing that counts?
The primary thing. If we meet a character that is in a movie and then in another movie, that is a connection. I don't think the fact the Pizza Planet truck is in every movie, so therefore every movie has Pizza Planet as a restaurant chain existing in it, means they're all connected. I don't think that's fair. So I guess I should introduce Vegard to this video. Are you gonna fit in this shot?
No.
So basically, you are gonna be the final judge on anything, because I know a lot about the Pixar. Too much. I really think I've wasted way too much of my brain power over the last 6 years learning random Easter eggs for Pixar films. You, on the other hand, I feel like if I can get you to agree these movies connect with your little knowledge on the Pixar Theory from...
Yeah, now this is starting to get
So the first thing I want to say 100% connects, and I'm sure you can approve of this, is the Toy Story movies all connect to the Toy Story movies. Toy Story 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think they're all in the same universe. We all in agreement here.
I do remember a slight cameo of all the main characters.
I don't really have anything else to say here. The Toy Story movies are all connected to the Toy Story movies. Again, if you didn't notice, Woody and Buzz, interestingly enough, feature in all of the movies as the like Rex, Ham, Slinky, Mr. Potato. There's a few characters that appear. I don't know why I'm playing on with this. And then, this movie hasn't actually come out yet, but it will do, like, at some point. Sorry, just to interject here, as you can probably tell by my hair being drastically different, I filmed this video quite a few weeks ago. I somehow thought I was going to get it done before Lightyear came out. That was not the case. I don't know how I thought I was going to get it done that quickly. Here we are, it's almost the end of June, and now, because it's the end of the month, I've run out of time on a deadline to do a sponsor, so you're going to have to listen to me tell you about Surfshark. So if you don't, oh my God, I need a drink. So if you don't already know, which I hope you do, because I mention them once a month in my videos, and that shows you don't watch my videos if you don't know, Surfshark is a virtual private network with over 3,200 servers in 65 different countries. Meaning, when you're using the internet, you can change your location and surf the internet from a completely different country. But you're probably wondering, why is that important? Why would I want to surf the internet from another country? I live in America. If you think America is the greatest country on earth, I got news for you, buddy. Because unless you're made of money and can afford the 100 million streaming services that exist these days, the chances are there is content that you can't access because it's on a streaming service that you don't have. Using this feature to change your location, you can access another country's version of this said streaming service, which has a complete different library of content, and access all of it at no extra cost, other than the cost of Surfshark, which is a really, really good option. It's cheap, and you're allowed an unlimited number of devices on it, meaning you and your entire friend group can just share one account, and it will cost the amount of basically nothing if you're splitting it between a few people. Plus, there's a free antivirus subscription on top of this already great deal. So if this sounds of any interest to you, and it should, you can use my code Gorman, Gorman, for a massive 83% off, plus an extra 3 months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Link in the description down below. Thanks for watching the ad, and let's get back into the video. This movie hasn't actually come out yet, but it will do, like, at some point. Lightyear, which is a movie within the universe, the Toy Story universe. It's the movie Andy saw that made him want to buy a Buzz Lightyear toy, or get bought a Buzz Lightyear toy, I guess. So since Lightyear isn't out yet, we don't actually have like a poster thing for it yet. So we've just got like a really makeshift Lightyear logo on the board. And we are using yellow yarn for this one because it's a movie within a movie. That's the color coding. Red is exist within the same universe. Yellow is it's fictional within said universe. And as much as that was fun to joke around with, also Monsters Inc., which connects to Monsters University, Finding Nemo, which connects to Finding Dory, and The Incredibles, which connects to The Incredibles 2. But none of these things are connected to one another yet. I think that's becoming like a bit of a yet, is like one of these jokes I have in these videos now.
Yet merch coming tomorrow.
And don't worry, I haven't forgotten it. There's another franchise of movies that also exists within each other, Cars. So Cars 2, and Cars 3 connect. And then the Cars movies also connect to the Planes movies, which aren't actually Pixar movies, but are distinctly in the Cars universe, because like it says at the very start of the first Planes movie, from the world of Cars. Like, there are no cameos of characters from Planes appearing in Cars, or Cars appearing in Planes. The only, like, times, what's it called?
Cartoons? That would have been a really good way.
It's called Cartoons. I never got that before. An episode of Cartoons, one of Mater's tall tales called Air Mater, where he goes to Prop Wash Junction, which is where the Planes characters like Dusty and Skinner all live. And Skinner's actually in this specific Cartoons episode. I can't, you've ruined that, the words cartoon. So, I mean, we can't really deny Planes' existence and therefore connection to the Cars movies and in the same universe. It's the fact that they made Planes movies, and like the whole thing with Cars is, oh yeah, Cars, they race with each other. And then the Planes movies, like, what's the thing that like sets Planes aside? Let's just also make them race each other.
What?
Look, they're doing like plane races. And then they did one where they went and became fire engines. As much as there may be a little overlap there, it's not connected to Incredibles or Finding Nemo or Toy Story or Lightyear or Monsters or whatever that stuff, yes. And from here, it starts to get a bit more complicated because the movies aren't technically sequels. No, they aren't, they just aren't sequels. But the films that take place in the human world kind of during the present day, I think are relatively easy to connect for the most part. So, for example, you've got Up, which I think definitively connects to Toy Story. And I'm going to try and persuade Vegard that it, of course, connects to Toy Story.
Oh, it's not on the... Oh.
It's not on the board yet. So, firstly, and I don't think this is the best connection, but it is a big one, Lotso appears in this girl's room in Up. Another thing I should make clear, I did say any characters that appear in other movies, but with toys, it is made pretty clear over the course of the Toy Story movies, even specifically with Lotso in Toy Story 3, that there are more than one version of any specific toy. So I don't think it necessarily 100% proves they're in the same universe if a toy shows up in more than one movie. Because like, it doesn't really fit up with Lotso's storyline from Toy Story for this to specifically be him, because, you know, he had an owner, and then when that owner replaced him, he went to Sunnyside, and then he ended up on the front of a garbage truck as his eternal punishment for being mean to toys in the end. If this Lotso toy in her room came to life,
and had the voice,
and was exactly the Lotso from the movie, then I'd be like, yes, obviously. So remember the grape soda pin from Up? Well, grape soda also features in the Buzz Lightyear commercial and in Toy Story 4. You don't have to be sold yet, okay?
He's teaching me what the script is.
I've already planned out the point where I want Vegard to be convinced.
You can see I was starting to get convinced, and he was like, no. Yeah.
I think this is the most convincing one. Now, you know these two, Carl and Ellie.
Yeah.
Okay, you see this letter they have there?
Oh my god.
It's a letter addressed to them, Carl and Ellie, from someone called Emma Jean. This specific letter appears on Andy's board in Toy Story 3. I'm not going to go into the specifics of why that's there, that isn't the point, but the fact that he has a letter addressed to them, I think canonically connects those two universes. So we're agreeing this is the same letter? Mm-hmm. Nice.
I would say sending a letter wouldn't really work if the post office in a different universe, so...
You remember this tree?
That's very depressing, Seamus. Okay, yes, I do remember this scene.
Well, this tree is also in Toy Story. I don't know, do you think that's the same tree?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tree on a hill that has a bend in it, but I mean, yeah, sure. It's like, this is like years earlier than in that case, because that's like a younger tree.
Yeah, that's fair enough though, because they're like old at this stage. This tree's like a big thing. It's actually referred to as the Pixar tree, as it's believed to show up in A Bug's Life as well, but I don't think you can say that's the same tree, right? Because that's like completely different.
Well, if it's like years later and the Earth has changed.
It's also speculated to be this tree from WALL-E in the end credits.
No, unless that's also like a million years later.
But that doesn't really work in the timeline either. I think, even without the tree, if you're not that persuaded by it, I
feel like the letter is more compelling, yeah.
Up is in. It's connected to the Toy Story movies. I then think we can rather easily connect Inside Out to Up. So this is a bit more niche, but you can see Riley has memories of Carl and Ellie, like in the balls.
There's a memory in the ball. I'm sorry. If I'd seen the scene right before, I probably would have recognized it.
You can see their house. I think what we are seeing, and this is my headcanon, because obviously Riley wouldn't have been old enough to go to Carl and Ellie's wedding. I think she's seen a video of Carl and Ellie's wedding, and she has a memory of the video of their wedding, and she might have seen their house as well.
Is that why it's unclear?
Maybe. It's also purple, which means it's a fear memory, which she was like watching the wedding video like, no! For someone to have memories of another character, that's pretty conclusive that they have met. There's also further evidence.
That's her. That's Ellie.
Why would Riley have a picture of Ellie in her house if there was not some sort of even relation between the two of them?
So that's her mom. That's his mom.
It can't be though, because she didn't have kids.
Oh, that's the whole thing. Isn't it?
She must be some sort of, maybe like an aunt or something. It's probably because she died, and they're like, oh, let's remember her. And also, if we want to just like fully like solidify it, in this clip of Riley at her hockey tryouts, we see a sign referring to the Tri-County Youth Hockey, and the Tri-County area also crops up a couple times over the Toy Story movies with the Tri-County Airport and the Tri-County Landfill place. I don't know if Tri-County is just like the most generic name they've possibly given to a place. Like, let's not make it specific where this is. Let's just call it like the Tri-County. But yeah, I think there's some good evidence there that Riley is connected to Up and Toy Story. And I think this is the best connection of the lot. Riley from Inside Out appears in Finding Dory. Actually, interestingly, all the people here are in her class in the first day.
Yeah, that's more compelling than just her face.
Which means Inside Out connects to Finding Dory, and therefore for those of you who haven't been paying attention to the last 3 minutes of this video, means that Toy Story connects to Finding Nemo. Oh, I didn't even mention this, sorry, but there's also a Buzz Lightyear toy in the dentist office in Finding Nemo. There are so many Buzz Lightyear toys in the Toy Story universe, as shown in Toy Story 2, but, I mean, he's there, so I think that just kind of solidifies it, right? Now, A Bug's Life and Ratatouille are the other two with hyper-intelligent animals that are significantly more difficult to connect. The first thing that like could be a connection for Ratatouille, and I don't think you're gonna give this to me, but
with the shadow of the dog, no way.
Okay, now I think this is the better connection. In Inside Out, if you zoom in on the magazine.
Oh, that's the lady, that's the Ratatouille.
And this really fits up with the end of Ratatouille, because at the end of the movie, she's like on the up as a aspiring chef. So for her to be on the cover of a magazine, like a cooking magazine, she's gone up in the world. Like, she's not just cooking in France, she's worldwide now.
Is that the last thing you have? Do you have more for this?
That's all I've got for Ratatouille.
So you have a shadow and you have a picture of a magazine.
Then we've got A Bug's Life.
I can't believe that you talked them into making A Bug's Life too.
This is the bloopers.
In Toy Story 2's end credits, Heimlich and Flick appear as part of like a blooper gag.
No.
Bloopers don't count, right? However, it is a reference to an actual scene from the movie But in the movie, the only thing that appears is Heimlich, like that, which...
Oh, he's there like that in Toy Story.
Yes, that is a real clip from the movie. So what do you think?
Yeah, okay, well, to be fair, if we're not counting the end credits, but we're counting the scene because this scene happens in the movie, yes? Then yeah, sure.
Okay, so Vegard has given me both A Bug's Life and Ratatouille.
After careful consideration of me accepting that a insect that is not addressed or spoken to doesn't have a face and is kind of just like a seat, sure.
Woo! Look at me. I am connecting the Pixar Theory. For the first time, I'm the first person to ever connect the Pixar Theory canonically.
You're the first person to talk about it.
Honestly, I can't believe I've convinced him to give me A Bug's Life and Ratatouille, but I do want to state that there are more connections to A Bug's Life and Ratatouille that I just haven't got to yet, but I can't talk about yet because I haven't connected the movie that they are connecting to yet. Anyway, those are the movies that are like normal, like they're like real world movies, if you get what I mean. Yes, there are some intelligent animals, but like they're like taking place in the real world beyond maybe like toys coming to life.
You know, and a house lifting up with a couple hundred balloons.
What I'm trying to say is that the films we're going to start connecting now have monsters and superheroes and afterlives and just outright magic in them. Wow. So firstly, there's a boy in the dentist's waiting room in Finding Nemo reading an Incredibles comic, and I think that proves the Incredibles is at least fictional in the Finding Nemo universe. And then there's a scene in Ratatouille where Linguini shows that he has Incredibles themed underwear. Are you clear he's got Incredibles underwear?
Yes, how much have you looked at this?
Which may mean that The Incredibles is at the very least fictional in the same way Lightyear is fictional to Toy Story in this universe. But then also in The Incredibles itself, we can see that there's Incredibles merchandise, Incredibles comics through Buddy or Syndrome's room. And I think that's pretty good evidence that this could be real and they are just comics of real characters from... Because that's a common thing in comic book movies for the characters, like the superheroes in the comic book movies, to have comics in the movie about themselves. I don't know if that was a really niche sentence that didn't make sense.
Yeah, I would give you the yellow spread right now.
Okay. Well, I have one more thing. We see Bon Voyage, this guy from The Incredibles, in Ratatouille as a mime. It's up to you to decide whether you think that is actually him or not.
Wow, he really fell off, didn't he? I mean, unless he has like a long lost twin that is a mime, then.
And if it's a twin, then it's still the same universe. Meaning The Incredibles connects to everything.
The thing is, like, some of the evidence isn't like super strong on its own, but then if you pair it with like a character, then it's like, okay, that reinforces the other evidence.
Another rebuttal for it being a fictional movie inside the Pixar universe is the fact stuff like the Pizza Planet truck, which appears in Incredibles 2, and also the Chinese takeaway box that appears in Incredibles 2, feature in a whole feast of Pixar movies before those movies. And why would a movie that exists in a universe feature brands in the... unless it's product placement.
Oh, God.
Wait, so is that what we're going to do? Anytime like a Pizza Planet or something comes up in Lightyear, that's just in-universe product placement. The next challenge, Monsters, Inc. Now, obviously, Monsters, Inc. doesn't exist in the same universe as these movies because everyone in that world is a monster and there aren't humans in that world. However, it can't be denied because it happens that they travel to the human world across both Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University. Kind of the whole plot of the movie is them traveling to the human world and collecting their scares to fuel their world. And of course, in the Pixar theory, the theory is that the doors they travel to the human world through are actually time-traveling doors to travel to when the universe was ruled by humans before the humans had evolved into monsters. But you've got to kind of forget about that because there is no evidence that the doors go back in time. However, it's also worth noting that it never specifies what the doors do. I guess you could say it's implied they go to another dimension filled with humans, but it's never actually said. So if you want to think they're time-traveling doors, you can go ahead and think that. I personally have that headcanon. And this human world that they're traveling to, I believe, is definitively connected to the universe. Honestly, I think this is the one I've got the most evidence for. Firstly, Randall blends in with Andy's wallpaper when he's doing like his preparing to scare kids at the start of the first movie montage. Does that imply that he was like Andy's monster and like gonna scare Andy before
No, that's a piece of wallpaper.
Okay, sure. Okay, fine. Next up, there's a drawing that appears in Finding Nemo, and that drawing also appears in Boo's room.
Why?
Well, that is the question. Why would Boo's drawing appear in P. Sherman's office unless they're connected somehow? Maybe a parent?
I'm not convinced.
You're not convinced by a drawing.
You said you had mountains of evidence for this one, so I'm not trying to be convinced by anything.
We also have a Jessie doll appearing in Boo's room.
It's just more convincing than the drawing, to be honest. But
The Jessie, really?
But I mean, it's a kind of equal level.
Okay, this is up for debate, but I think there is a lot of evidence that Boo appears in the Toy Story movies. Firstly, we got this character in Toy Story 3. You think that looks like an older Boo?
But yeah, sure, yeah, it does.
However, unfortunately, this has been debunked by the director. He said that is not meant to be. I still think it looks just like her, and I don't care what you say, Leon Crick. But I also think there is good evidence that she might appear in Bonnie's class in Toy Story 4.
That's more compelling. That just looks like a better animation of her here.
And then she appears later in Toy Story 4 as well, potentially.
That's the t-shirt, which is a smaller t-shirt there, and it fits here, maybe?
Now, finally, in Monsters at Work, the Monsters, Inc. sequel show exclusive to Disney+, monsters are able and do use the human doors to travel to abandoned parts of the human world to go on holiday. And what if Mike Wazowski's like, yo, it's my time for a holiday, I'm gonna go scuba diving in Sydney. Using that knowledge that they can do that, I want to show you the end credits scene from Finding Nemo.
This is like the most compelling evidence, to be fair.
Like, no human's gonna spot him out scuba diving. Again, are we saying end credit scenes are canon? That's the only thing against it.
Yeah, if they're not a blooper, yeah.
Also, because we've connected A Bug's Life, this trailer that Randall gets banished to at the end of Monsters, Inc., with the Pizza Planet truck next to it, appears in A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
That's all the evidence I've got for you.
Those last two were more convincing than the rest.
Also, fun fact, Pete Docter, the director of Monsters, Inc. and the head of Pixar, said in an interview with Jonathan Carlin that he believed Riley would have had a monster herself.
Does Riley have a monster?
You know what? I've never thought of that.
Really?
Probably she did when she was younger.
So, the director of the film himself has said it exists in the same universe as Inside Out, which means everything is connected so far. Other than Cars, but we'll get to that. That's going to be a challenge. Well, this part brings us to the Afterlife movies. Immediately, the fact that there are like 2 Afterlife movies showing different depictions of the afterlife within the universe may seem contradictory to some. However, I also want to argue that maybe an afterlife could be up for interpretation to a certain person. And both the afterlives we see, being Miguel's in Coco, is like based on what his family would have brought him up thinking the afterlife was like, which is a very beautiful and traditional to the Mexican culture, El Dia de los Muertos. Whereas Soul is more of like a blob afterlife. I guess what he imagined the afterlife was like. Specifically, a fun thing about the Soul afterlife is the conveyor belt to the death place actually has frets like a guitar. And Joe was obviously a big musician, or not big, he was a musician. And there's also points in Soul where it says the afterlife is actually just too complex for a human brain to comprehend, so it's simplified for the likes of people like Joe who go to this afterlife to understand. So maybe the afterlife's different for everyone and tended to the human brain and perception of it. I just kind of went on a nice little ramble there, trying to rationalize how there could be 2 different afterlives. Now let's talk about how they fit into the universe. And I will admit, Coco is difficult. There aren't that many Easter eggs that connect, and the ones that do don't really make sense. The first major Easter egg in Coco is the fact the Incredibles appear on a poster in the background in the Land of the Dead as skeletons.
That's interesting. They chose to keep the masks on.
It's also like, does that mean they're dead? Another thing with Coco is the majority of the Easter eggs in it are just real life famous people. There's also this guy who's wearing this t-shirt Sid wears in Toy Story. In the afterlife. If you think this is dead Sid and are convinced, then...
No.
Okay. Also, he's meant to look like Skrillex. So, Now, there is one thing that I found, and I'm pretty pleased with this, because I did not know this existed before this video, and I think this is a solid connection. And genuinely, I didn't think we were going to be able to connect Coco until I found this, but If you look at this guy going through like the border control into the land of the living, even
Border control.
to be able to visit the land of the living, someone has to have put your picture up on an offrender. So you have to go through a border control where they scan whether your picture was put up by someone. And this guy's picture is in a dentist's office. It's actually specifically said in this scene.
Your photo's on your dentist's ofrenda.
I guess he was very close with his dentist. However, I raise this because this dentist's office is the exact dentist's office from Finding Nemo. If you want to analyze these two and compare, they are actually identical.
Yeah, no, it's the same one, yeah.
So apparently P. Sherman is very good friends with this guy from Coco. He put up his picture on his offrender, and henceforth, Coco is connected to Finding Nemo. Then we have the other Afterlife movie, Soul, which, on the contrary to Coco, has an absolute excess of Easter eggs in the Hall of Everything. That's the blimp from Up.
That's just a blimp, yeah.
The Ferris wheel from Toy Story 4.
That's just a Ferris wheel.
That is the Axiom.
What is that?
The spaceship that goes up in WALL-E, Pizza Planet truck. There are just a lot of Easter eggs in here. However, my point with this is, yes, there are loads of Easter eggs in here, but I don't know if it's real. This place is described as like a place of possibilities, and I don't know if, like, that's not certain, you know? It's possible. Yes, Afterlife Easter eggs are something, but it's not the world this is existing in, and for it to connect to this actual world, I think we need a real world Easter egg. And unfortunately, there is only one other like major Easter egg. If you look up here on the subway, there is an advert for this company Brang. You can't really see it all, but you can see that company Brang. Now, usually I wouldn't give a company because I don't think that's like great, but Brang is actually the company that Riley Anderson's dad in Inside Out works for. That's the only Easter egg I've got.
What did you bring? What does that mean?
I don't know what the company does. Are you not giving that?
No. Flop error.
Soul didn't make it in. Wow, that was so violent. The fact we connected Coco makes connecting Turning Red pretty easy. So there's this boy in Turning Red that May is kind of like crushing over, right? Yeah. And he's got an Escapula t-shirt on. And that band, Escapula, are playing in like the Land of the Dead concert thing in Coco. So this band that he is a fan of, completely canon to the Coco universe.
Is this all you have?
If it was all I had, would you give it to me?
I'm not entirely convinced. I mean, it's sure.
The band exists. There's real characters in this band, and he is a fan of the band. I do have one more thing, though.
Okay.
In the scene in Turning Red where they're walking here, you can see May's friend has a socks sticker. Socks being the cat from Lightyear. And I think this is a pretty good reference because Lightyear, as we've established, is a fictional film. And therefore, it would make sense if in this fictional film, there's like this toy cat for people to have merchandise in the universe of the cat.
I think, sure.
You're on? I think I thought you were going to give me that because I think that's two pretty decent connections.
Yeah. But your thing was, I don't accept branding.
None of these are branding.
That is branding.
This isn't a company. They're a band. They're a band made up of people.
Yeah, but you don't know that. But that's just like a name. That's literally.
But it's on their drum kit.
Yeah, so it's branding. It's not actually.
But we know that's the band then. No one else is gonna be with the same name.
So why? But then why wouldn't it count if it's like a soda brand? Like...
Because it's a company and it's not related to a person. People are different to companies. You're just personalizing the enemy, Vegard. Vegard's agreed to Turning Red. He thinks my rules don't make sense, but they make... the thing is, I get maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes perfect sense in my head, and you have to understand that.
Yeah, I know that it makes sense in your head.
But with that, Turning Red connects to Coco, and Lightyear is a fictional thing in that universe. So I guess by that logic, with Lightyear being an in-universe movie, anything that features Buzz Lightyear is an immediate connection. So maybe my rules are a mess. Maybe you're right.
Oh, what's happening now?
Because I would have seen a Buzz Lightyear toy and gone, yeah, but there's hundreds of Buzz Lightyear toys. But now Lightyear is a movie in-universe.
But also, you're saying the character, but we've never seen the cat character as a toy before. So we've only seen it as that merch bit. So I feel like that's a safer bet than...
Yes, I won't include it because you didn't say it very well, but I did get it. And then we have Luca. So what I'm going to say about Luca is that...
It's the gayest... This is Pride Month, and it's gay.
So Luca depicts a very advanced underwater society.
Is this where you're going with this? Is it going to be Finding Nemo?
I just think, like, where else do we see an advanced underwater society other than Finding Nemo? There's no Easter eggs or anything, but, like, the society... It's really hard, Megan. There is nothing in this film. Okay, I do have one thing. So, your favorite scene in the movie when the boy and the girl are in the room together?
I don't... Well,
You went to the bathroom during this part. There's a vinyl with this 4-star village. I don't know if I'm butchering the Italian pronunciation there, which I think is a reference to Four Town.
no.
Four Village. Four Town, same like branding.
makes
It's an Italian translation, and it is a clear reference. And these characters all have speaking roles.
They look very young, and this is definitely in the future from the other. I mean, based on your character and logic and I don't think that counts.
I did go through Google Translate, and village isn't even the Italian word for village. If it was for town, and like clearly the artwork, I think you've got something there. And the artwork's similar, it's Italian, but also you're right. I don't know if the time periods fit up.
I feel like it was like very low-key branding, but in Turning Red, it was like, bam, colors, pastels, bam, bam. And if it was that kind of, but that wouldn't have fit up with Luca.
Maybe canonically, Turning Red's Four Town were inspired by Four Village, the band that came before them. But yeah, that's all I've got. Jesus. So Luca and Sol both failed.
Not only was it a crime to Pride Month, it was a crime to this video.
Anyway, there are also a bunch of movies that just take place in a completely different time period, and therefore, I guess maybe could be in the same universe, but it's kind of impossible to know. So let's start with Brave. Brave is annoyingly very light on the Easter egg front. It takes place in the 10th century in Scotland. None of the other movies even go to Scotland and are at least 10,000 years in the future from that. So all the Easter eggs in Brave show up in the witch's workshop. So one of the Easter eggs is she has a wooden carving of a Pizza Planet truck, which is kind of weird because Pizza Planet trucks did not exist in the 10th century. There's also a carving of Sully in her workshop, but it's kind of a bit vague. Is that clearly enough, Sully?
That could literally be like a Furby. That looks like a Furby. She was visited from the future by a Monsters Inc.
Well, that is the gist of the actual Pixar Theory.
Are you joking?
That yeah, she's Boo. So
right.
Also, you have agreed Turning Red exists in the universe, which means a character turning into a bear-like creature is not completely off the cards.
This is the death corner. This is where movies go to that.
I think there's enough evidence that the witch in Brave is a time traveler.
Yes.
There's just not enough evidence to prove that she exists in this universe because there is no other evidence of time travel in this universe beyond Monsters Inc. potentially being time traveling doors. And if you want to go even further into the past, we have The Good Dinosaur, which takes place millions of years ago. I'd actually know how the lore with this works as well, because the premise is the dinosaurs don't get killed off by the asteroid, it misses Earth, but then humans somehow evolve to exist anyway. They kind of just start coexisting by the end of the movie.
Who made the cruise? Sorry.
There's enough evidence that dinosaurs did exist in the Pixar universe at one point. I want to stress that. We know this because there are dinosaur toys in the Pixar universe. There are dinosaur bones and like fossils in Up.
But what's the evidence for this?
So I'm going through it. I'm talking about the dinosaurs. I'm saying dinosaurs must have existed at one point in the universe because they are referenced in other movies. There's also a statue of a dinosaur in Inside Out that looks exactly like the pet collector dinosaur from The Good Dinosaur. Ultimately, it's too far in the past to prove or disprove. However, I have no idea where the dinosaurs went, if that canonically fits in the universe, because it's established that dinosaurs do not exist in the later movies. Yet, here they were living harmoniously with humans at the end of The Good Dinosaur. I think that actively breaks canon. And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, we have WALL-E. This takes place in about 2800. According to WALL-E, the humans left Earth because of overpopulation and pollution in the year 2105 and never returned, or they returned eventually. However, there are some Easter eggs in WALL-E. Firstly, Eve searches a Pizza Planet truck. We also see a Rex toy. Forky also holds a spork.
Forky.
Let's do that again. Wall-E also holds a sport which could resemble Forky. He has both Rex and Forky, both Bonnie's toys.
There's not a single thing glued to that thing.
Yeah, well, it's been like 700 years.
You know what also exists in any of these universes? A sport.
Yeah, good. That's a big connection. However, the big connection to Wall-E is By and Large. So By and Large is the company that basically took over everything in the world. That's the plot of Wall-E.
I haven't watched it in a while.
Fair enough, but you kind of remember everyone had to leave Earth.
Yeah.
But By and Large was the problem. They were the thing that ruined the world.
By and large, they were the problem.
And By and Large feature across the Pixar universe. So firstly, Buzz Lightyear's batteries in Toy Story 3.
By and large.
By and Large. There are also batteries in Toy Story 4 with a By and Large logo on it. There's meant to be a theory going around that the company trying to knock down Carl's house at the start of Up was By and Large. But there is absolutely no evidence for it upon looking for it. Everyone has said this for years as like a fact. No evidence for it. I actively just watched the scene for about an hour yesterday trying to find this, like, an image of it. It's not even true. The only other By and Large Easter eggs actually in universe come in the Toy Story shorts. There's a By and Large premium card in the short film Toy Story of Terror, which kind of implies them going into banking. And also in Small Fry, they are making drinks. So there's a
By and large blast. I think it's like good enough.
It's hard to disprove with Wall-E, I think, unless they make a movie taking place in like the year 2100 and disproving it.
You know what? The thing is, at least it's not just a brand that is in one shot and then in one shot in another thing. It's like the company that has ruined the world, and then it's in 3 separate movies for Toy Story.
2 movies and 2 shorts.
Yeah, so at that point, it's like an established thing, not just like a fluke reference.
And then in the Toy Story movies, it's also shown that they are branching out. You know, they own drinks brands, they own credit cards, they own battery companies, you know? Like, to me, that shows that By and Large is also a big established company in the Toy Story universe. And I think that makes Wall-E a pretty solid connection, to be honest with you. I'm really happy about that. Wall-E is in there. And honestly, just before we get to the final film that we haven't pinned to the board, I've connected most of the Pixar films in the same universe. And I think that's a success. Also, actually, something else I didn't even raise when I was talking about it. There is a clear showing of the rise of AI and machines in movies like The Incredibles, Up, where like technology is clearly advancing faster than humans can handle. So therefore, humans getting shipped off to space because technology took over isn't actually out of the question, I don't think. I genuinely think Wall-E's a decent connection. Anyway, let's talk about Onward, because this movie just takes place in a completely different frickin' universe. We got the Pixar universe, and then we got whatever universe Onward's taken place in.
The 2 moons, didn't that create some chaos?
The one piece of evidence we have in favor of Onward being in the Pixar theory, and this is an SCB theory, okay? It's shown in Wall-E, when the axioms went up, there was more than one axiom that went into space. It wasn't just the one that came back. And the axioms left Earth to find other life. It was just the one we met in Wall-E had given up on that mission until Wall-E came along and was like, let's go back to Earth. I'm the robot Jesus. This is an axiom diagram.
Yes.
And there's a theory, it crash landed on Onward's planet and created...
Okay, have you stolen the clip from SCB?
Yes. And it created that mountain.
No. It doesn't even look like it's a different material. It just looks like it's a part of the landscape. If there was like a hole in the ground that was shaped like it, but that's something sticking out of the ground. It just happens to have spikes on it.
The only other thing going for Onward is the fact it could be, similarly to Lightyear, a movie within a movie. Basically, because it takes place in such a distant and different planet. And there is an Onward bouncy castle in Toy Story 4, which could imply that like they're selling merchandise, because it's got like the unicorn from Barley's truck in Onward on the thing.
That is just a unicorn.
Also, interestingly, maybe that wasn't selling, but Triple Dent Gum, which is actually a pretty big staple of Pixar brands that come up in a lot of films now, appears in Onward.
Wait, how does it go?
Triple Dent Gum, it'll make you smile. Appears in Onward. Why would a brand of gum that exists in a
Product
complete
placement.
product placement in a movie.
No.
Fair enough. As I said, this is the film that, in my head at least, kind of was the first one that really threw a spanner in the works of like, yeah, this one's going to be a tough one to connect. So what are your thoughts?
Are we done?
We're going to try and connect Cars.
Oh, I forgot. We're not done.
Cars is kind of weird because also similarly to Onward, it doesn't take place on a planet where humans exist.
How do cars have sex? But how are they?
This is actually a big thing with Cars as well, because there's a big debate in the Pixar Theory community over whether they are like organic orgasms. We've been filming for 3 hours. I apologize for that. I meant organisms, just to be completely clear. You know, it's not like we've never seen in the Pixar universe before objects coming to life, meaning you don't need to be an organic organism. I've got to stop saying that.
By that logic, there should be humans entering into the cars.
That is true. However, the car universe, while clearly being a humanless universe, does reference the existence of humans a lot. There are multiple Easter eggs to like things in the Pixar universe, but carified. So like you have Gusto's restaurant called Gastos. The Pizza Planet truck is a sentient character in the Cars universe that appears in all of the Cars films called Todd. The cars are like sponsored by things like Dinoco, which is a petrol station in Toy Story. You know what features a lot in Cars?
By and large, that was a whole connection from something else. So we surely gotta connect it by that reasoning. But also, how did the cars like rebrand everything?
Also, the whole point of WALL-E is that when the humans left, the WALL-E like machines were trying to clean up the earth.
Yeah.
And there are no WALL-Es in Cars, so it doesn't really work. What if though, and hear me out on this, Cars is a movie within a movie, and therefore Planes is a movie within a movie as well. Planes is the spin-off in their universe made by a different company, and there was a big lawsuit in the Pixar, I don't know. If you want to attach Cars as a movie within a movie, you can. But it definitely doesn't exist in the same universe. I think we could argue it's a movie, because why would people have merchandise from Cars? Yeah, no, actually, I need to say this more convincingly. I think I've been convinced by myself. I think Cars is an in-universe movie in the Pixar universe in the same way that Lightyear is an in-universe movie in the Pixar universe. You see, multiple brands from the Pixar universe appear in Cars. You've got stuff like Pizza Planet, By and Large, Bob Parr's insurance company from The Incredibles. However, as Vegard said, well, that doesn't prove it's a movie, but then there are also characters in the Pixar movies that are in the universe, like Toy Story 3 and Coco, that have merchandise pertaining to Cars, like Lightning McQueen, which I think can prove that Cars is a trilogy of movies in the Pixar universe. And yeah, that is the Pixar Theory from a cameo canon perspective. It kind of almost works, like surprisingly better, because the fact that Pixar themselves have denied the fact this theory is true and said, our movies don't take place in the same universe, this isn't true. I've actually proved that a lot of them do, most of them do, actually. And I somehow connected 2 extra movies that aren't even by Pixar in there as well. So, take that. I said I was going to disprove the Pixar Theory today, but maybe I've proved that it is real. Other than for Brave, Good Dinosaur, Onward, Soul, and Luca. Anyway, this has been another Conspiracy Board video. I know you guys are enjoying these videos. The comments on them are always so nice, so thank you so much. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and comment down below what else you would like me to see me do something like this with. That didn't make sense, did it? But I'm going to leave that taken anyway, because I don't want to record this again. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, watch another video, and check out my Patreon in the description down below. And yeah, I'm really tired again. I've been recording for 3 hours. I hope this video was worth it.